Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where travelers are one stop away from world destinations. Connections on Delta Airlines to Atlanta are available daily. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
A top Democrat in McLean County says President Biden's decision to step aside will unite the party. That's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Monday, July 22nd. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with manufacturers scrambling for years to find workers. The need is rising as baby boomers, who disproportionately made up that part of the workforce, retire. WGLT's Charlie Schlenker reports on efforts to fill that gap.
Community colleges such as Heartland and Normal are starting apprenticeship programs, but right now that's still not enough. Steve Kinect of G3 Machining in Bloomington is trying to grow his own.
Right now we've got 3 employees under the age of 24 that we are training because there really wasn't adequate training available outside. So we're bringing them in and we're training them one by one, step by step.
Kinect says he also works with all levels of education to try to identify kids who like to tinker and might take to becoming a machinist. The problem is not pay. A 1.5-year-old study of manufacturing jobs in Illinois shows the average salary is a surprising $79,000. It's finding young people who are interested but who also won't go on to engineering degrees. Kinect says classes and virtual tours can help get young people hooked on becoming a machinist, but nothing is going to replace walking into a shop, smelling the cutting fluids, and hearing the machines.
When I saw somebody run a cutter across a piece of metal on a Bridgeport and watch those chips just fly off there, I'm like, you can command metal. How awesome is that? You know, you can make it do your will. And I'm like, I got to do that.
The Illinois Manufacturers Association says a trend of reshoring jobs from China to the U.S. will create even more need for manufacturing workers. For The Leadoff, I'm Charlie Schlenker.
Here's some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. Kimberly Harris has announced a run for mayor of Normal. The 2-term council member is running against longtime incumbent Chris Coos. A man was injured in a shooting just after midnight Saturday in North Normal. It happened on Traders Circle near Rab Road at Main Street. Normal police did not say how badly he was injured. A 6th cannabis dispensary has opened in the Twin Cities. Air Wellness opened on Bradford Lane in Normal on Friday. The state of Illinois has already reached $1 billion in cannabis sales this year. And 2 Heartland Community College alumni have been chosen in the Major League Baseball draft. Sam Antonacci was taken by the White Sox, and Ben Hartle was drafted by the Texas Rangers. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. The head of the McLean County Democrats says President Biden's decision to drop out of the presidential race will unite the party just a few months before the election. Patrick Cortese tells WGLT's Eric Stock that Biden's decision not to seek re-election was starting to feel inevitable.
I wouldn't say that I'm surprised, but I'm a little sad, a little heartbroken that a good man like Joe Biden is deemed not good enough to be our candidate for president. I understand it. I think it's important to separate Joe Biden, the president, from Joe Biden, the candidate. I think most Democrats are perfectly fine with Joe Biden in office for another 4 years after looking at his list of accomplishments these last 4. I think people's concerns were with, would he be able to maintain a pace to run an effective campaign? So I'm a little sad in that our politics have gotten to the point where being good at your job isn't good enough.
Well, it seemed the case that Democrats were trying to make to Biden, largely through the media the last few weeks, was that leaving now would cement his legacy as a consequential president at a critical time in our history, and that he would be risking all that by running again and potentially losing. How will you reflect on that, first of all, and how will you reflect on his 4 years in office?
So I would agree. I think if we were going to make a change, it needed to happen sooner rather than later. So I will admit in the last few weeks, I've been a little anxious. It seemed like it was an inevitable conclusion that was going to happen. And I thought for the good of the party and the good of the country, that needed to happen sooner rather than later. So I would agree with the first part of your statement. I think history will look back at a Joe Biden presidency and acknowledge all the amazing work that he's been able to do, especially given the hand that he was dealt. He got us through a global pandemic. He rescued our economy and saved it from a free fall. He created millions and millions of jobs, billions of dollars of infrastructure investments. A lot of that we're seeing here in McLean County and in Illinois. I'm sure a few of the listeners are a little frustrated with all the construction going on Route 9 and in Market Street right now, but that's Biden infrastructure money coming back to fix the damn roads.
The argument against Biden leaving office that seemed to come from some Democrats publicly was that this would lead to chaos in the last 3 to 4 months leading up to the presidential election. Is there concern about running a presidential campaign, in 100 days?
Of course. And there will be some folks who say, well, that's how we used to do it. But, there are a lot of things we used to do and for good reason don't anymore. Yes, there's concern about the chaos. That's why I think it's very important for the National Party to coalesce around one candidate, get behind them, and make our best pitch for the remaining time that we've got left.
Joe Biden has endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll see how that plays out. But is Kamala Harris the best choice? Is she the only choice at this point?
Yes and yes, in my personal opinion. Kamala Harris is the only one with access to the campaign's resources. She's the only one that received millions and millions of votes during the primary process. I think it would be too risky and to our detriment to bypass someone in her position for somebody else.
McLean County Democratic Party Chair Patrick Cortese says he'd like to see Governor J.B. Pritzker get some consideration to serve on the party's ticket in November. He says he'd also like to see Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro on the VP shortlist. You can hear more of this interview with WGLT's Eric Stock tonight at 5 on WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. And before we let you go, the Bloomington City Council meets tonight. On the agenda is a proposal for a new tax incentive district for downtown and a plan to set priorities to address the current housing shortage. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. The show is produced by Lou Warner. You can subscribe to Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you listen.